In the blistering sun of America's southern frontier, where steel fences stretch endlessly across arid desert and muddy rivers carve out the lines of sovereignty, a storm of uncertainty and desperation brews once again. The year is 2025, and the United States finds itself facing a crisis that is no longer creeping silently in the background. It's roaring into the national consciousness with unrelenting urgency. The U.S.-Mexico border, long a flashpoint of debate, has now become the epicenter of a humanitarian disaster, political paralysis, and national identity crisis. And yet, despite the scale and intensity of what's happening, mainstream media only scratches the surface. Today, we go deeper over the last 2 months alone. Border Patrol data reveals a staggering figure: over 450,000 migrants have either crossed the southern border or been apprehended at various checkpoints. These aren't just statistics. They're families, children, elderly men, pregnant women, entire generations risking everything for a sliver of hope. Many flee the crumbling economies of Central America, collapsing political systems in South America, and increasingly dangerous narco-violence in regions once considered relatively stable. Others escape devastating droughts, hurricanes, and food shortages, climate refugees, whose lands no longer offer survival. But the system designed to receive or reject them is overwhelmed. U.S. Customs and Border Protection facilities are overcrowded, understaffed, and operating far beyond their intended capacity. In certain processing centers, over 2,000 people are crammed into spaces meant for 500. Children sleep under aluminum blankets. Mothers sob, separated from their partners. Volunteers report a surge in illnesses due to unsanitary conditions, lack of clean water, and stress-induced trauma. In response to this surge, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas has declared a renewed emergency, expanding Operation Lone Star into one of the largest domestic mobilizations of National Guard troops since Hurricane Katrina. Along with deploying military vehicles and tactical teams, Abbott has authorized the state-led construction of razor-wire barriers along popular migrant routes, sparking legal battles with federal agencies who argue this violates constitutional boundaries. Meanwhile, border towns such as Del Rio, Eagle Pass, and McAllen are operating in crisis mode. Local mayors beg for federal assistance. County hospitals are turning away non-critical patients due to capacity overflow. Schools are repurposing gyms into temporary shelters. But while the front lines burn, the political battle in Washington rages with equal fire. The Biden administration, criticized by both progressives and conservatives, finds itself walking a tightrope with no end in sight. Executive orders have been signed to speed up asylum processing and expand humanitarian parole, but critics argue this only incentivizes further migration. Meanwhile, conservative lawmakers are calling for mass deportations, a re-implementation of Title 42 health-related expulsions, and even a national emergency declaration to deploy federal military resources along the border. In Congress, proposed immigration bills are once again gridlocked. One side demands pathways to citizenship and humane border management. The other side insists on walls, detention, and zero tolerance. The result? Stalemate. And in the meantime, tens of thousands more continue their journey north, hoping they won't become pawns in a political chess game that has no checkmate in sight. But it's not just about policy, it's about people. In Nogos, Arizona, a 9-year-old boy named Mateo arrived alone, clutching a handwritten note from his mother in Guatemala. She couldn't make the journey. He hasn't seen her since. In El Paso, a local church has taken in over 300 migrants. Their pews transformed into makeshift beds, their donations depleted within days. The pastor, a former veteran, says he's never seen such desperation, not even during war-torn deployments. And then there's the fear, not just from Americans who worry about border security, but from the migrants themselves. They fear the cartels that control smuggling routes. They fear border patrol. They fear detention. But most of all, they fear being sent back to a place where death may wait at the doorstep. And in some cases, they fear the American dream itself has become a mirage and illusion they chased across jungles, rivers, and deserts, only to find cold steel and closed doors. Cities far from the border are now feeling the impact as well. New York, Chicago, and Denver have declared states of emergency due to the influx of migrants being bussed from border states. Shelters are full. Public sentiment is shifting. Tensions are rising as residents ask, why are we footing the bill? For federal inaction? Why is there no national plan? These questions are not limited to domestic borders. Internationally, the U.S. is under increasing pressure from global human rights organizations. Amnesty International and the UNHCR have issued statements condemning the U.S. for its treatment of asylum seekers. Mexico, too, is facing its own crisis, as thousands of migrants are now stuck in limbo in cities like Tijuana, Matamoros, and Ciudad Juarez, unable to cross, unable to return. This is no longer just a border issue. It's a symbol of everything. Cracking beneath the surface of America's foundation disunity in government, a fragmented society, and the growing inability to solve problems without turning them into ideological battlegrounds. It's about what kind of country the United States wants to be. One that builds higher walls, or one that builds better systems. Economically, the stakes are high. Some analysts warn that failing to address the crisis could cost billions in federal aid, law enforcement overtime, emergency housing, and litigation. On the other hand, ignoring the labor shortage in key industries like agriculture and construction, where many undocumented migrants typically work, could strain an already fragile economy. Immigration isn't just a security issue. It's an economic one, a cultural one, and a moral one. With the 2026 midterm elections just a year away, immigration is once again dominating headlines. Conservative PACs are already running attack ads showing drone footage of mass border crossings. Liberal groups are fundraising off images of detained children. The narrative war is in full swing. But lost in all this noise is the human cost. Real stories. Real lives. Real suffering. So where does this all lead? If nothing changes, experts warn of a tipping point. Border states could begin taking unilateral action beyond the law. Civil unrest could flare in cities overwhelmed by migrant flows. Federal law enforcement could be pitted against state-led forces. It sounds dystopian, but the seeds are already planted. What America faces today is not just a surge at the border. It's a stress test of its values, its governance, and its unity. The way forward will not be found in slogans or sound bites. It will require honest dialogue, bipartisan leadership, and perhaps most importantly, the will to see migrants not just as numbers or threats, but as humans caught in the whirlwind of forces far beyond their control. And now, we turn to you, the viewer. What do you believe is the solution to America's border crisis? Should the U.S. tighten its immigration policies or open new legal pathways to entry? Should states have more power to enforce border security independently? Or should federal authority remain supreme? And at what cost are we willing to defend borders financially, ethically, and socially? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation that goes beyond the noise. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about borders, it's about the soul of a nation. Don't forget to like this video if you found it eye-opening. Subscribe for more truthful and timely analysis on U.S. news and global conflicts. And share this video with someone who needs to see what's really happening behind the headlines. Stay informed, stay critical, stay human.